we are super, super excited today to have Ms. Karen Cappello, and she is going to talk about establishing your niche and how you can start to focus your attention on the people who are going to help you increase your success. And by way of introduction, and again, I know you all have read her amazing biography, I want to tell you a personal story. I actually know Karen and knew her for, I don't know, maybe 12 years now, because she's a true pioneer. Way back when I started personal branding, before anybody knew what it was and even fewer people were interested in buying any of it, Karen was one of those few people who came to me and said, hey, this personal branding thing sounds really interesting, and I really want to use it because I'm a coach and I really want to build my business. And you know, the people who move me most are coaches. In fact, newly minted coaches really move me. And I know I can build a successful practice around that, despite the fact that often newly minted coaches don't have huge amounts of discretionary income to be spending on having their own coach. And she was just so passionate about it, and she got the concepts of personal branding without even really thinking about it, and instantly I thought, wow, this woman is amazing, and I stayed connected with her, and she has just grown tremendously and done amazing things for her practice and to support coaches, and I thought she would be absolutely incredible. We know she was one of the people that was identified by folks from last year's business development series because people really wanted to hear from her, and she has a unique perspective on finding a niche, which she's going to share with you. In fact, she has an incredible ebook. It's called The Clients You Are Seeking Are Also Seeking You, which I think is the best $5 you'll ever spend in your life. And it's a really great ebook that talks about her philosophy of finding a niche. So let me turn it over to Karen, and this is going to be a fun interactive session, and then we'll do Q&A as always at the end. So take it away, Karen.
Thank you, William. It's really, really an honor to be here today. I want to thank all of the coaches who are on the line, who are listening. Especially, I want to thank you for giving your time, your treasures, and your talents to being a coach in the world. You know, what you do every day by listening to others and helping them gain awareness is a gift to the entire world. And I want to let you know how much I appreciate being your colleague in this way in the world. So as we get started here, we're going to talk about your niche. I usually call it a niche. I'm from the Midwest, so I'm going to go to niche now. And as we get started, I'd really like to take a quick poll just to find out who is on the line. And the question is, do you have a niche? So it's a yes or a no, and just type in a yes or a no on do you have a niche. And I think William is going to get all of the answers and let us know what the answers percentage to the poll of those who already have a coaching niche. Okay, so let's see. Do we have any initial responses?
Yes, we do. It looks like 60% of folks say they have a niche and 40% do not. So probably a good group for you today, Karen.
That's great. So I really want to acknowledge all of you who do have a niche, and I'm really excited. And that is a great decision that you've made for your business. So let me just forward to the next slide. Do you find your niche? The title of this talk was actually kind of given to me about finding your niche, and I thought that's really interesting, and I stayed with it because this is a little bit of an oxymoron to me. So I have this photo here of this woman, and do you ever feel like the woman in the picture, maybe before you found your niche? She's precariously perched on this ladder far above the city, away from a lot of people. The black and white stripes in her dress remind me, or the gray and black, remind me a little bit of an old-fashioned prison uniform. She's got these binoculars, and she's just searching for the right clients. And I think that sometimes, especially in the beginning, coaches can feel this way. We're told it's so important to get the niche right, and there are lots of good reasons for that, but this perspective can leave a coach feeling very awkward, kind of unsettling. And most coaches I know, they really want to get started, and yet the niche thing really holds them back a bit. So luckily, there's a more empowering perspective that we can take for having a niche, and that is, does your niche find you? So there's the book that William alluded to. The clients you are seeking are also seeking you. And I think this is a really empowering perspective and also very true. So here's an example. I want to share an example of how clients are, the clients you are seeking you. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about the niche. I had a client who wanted to serve executives, and she had experience in that executive arena. She got certified as an executive coach, but she wasn't sure how to break into a company. And one night, her and her husband were having dinner with their next-door neighbors. And the husband of their next-door neighbor couple asked her what she was up to. She told him she was an executive coach, and it turns out he was the HR director of a Fortune 500 company, and he was looking for an executive coach to do a project. So she was hired soon after that for her first gig. And that's the reason I say the clients you're seeking are also seeking you. Your niche can find you. In fact, with her client was living right next door. So you might want to think about, as we go through the presentation, who are those people that are right next door, right in front of you. If you already have your niche, start thinking about this also, like who are these clients that are right there? So the title of the book is based on the quote by Rumi. I don't know if any of you know the philosopher Rumi. What you seek is seeking you. So we're going to talk about certain things you can do to make it easier for your niche to find you, and I'll share them with you. And I have a definition of niche, so just so that we're on the same page. I know there was a different definition maybe that Michael Port had last night, and this is the beauty of coaching. We all can have our own definitions of whatever it is, and listening to different perspectives, you know, I encourage each of you to take whatever resonates for you from this, and take whatever resonates for you from all kinds of different speakers and presentations and learning experiences. So the way I say it is the coaching niche is simply a combination of the clients that you serve and what you work on with them. So it's the clients and what you work on, and I could say that your niche fills a need that a group of people have. So it's something that fills a need that a group of people have. And here's what is true about this. The only reason to have a niche is to make it easier to market your business. And you might want to write this down because this is really an important point. The only reason to have a niche is to make it easier to market your business. Many coaches do resist having a niche. You know, we don't like to exclude anyone. The people on this line, actually, more of you than not, have made that choice and have embraced it. But a lot of coaches will really struggle with this. The only reason to have a niche is to make it easier for your clients to find you, to recognize you. You can still coach anyone. In fact, my niche is working with coaches, and yet I have a lot of business people that come up to me. I have executive clients. So it doesn't preclude who I work with. It's just really who I market to. And there are definite actions that you can take to help your niche find you. And by the way, there's so much more that can be said than can be covered in this one conversation we're having. So if you need more information, I put together a free product for you that has lots of worksheets and templates. Some people like to go through a lot of different things, and I'll let you know how to get that at the end of this presentation. So I'm going to share 3 keys to receiving your niche, and it can be really simple, and I'm going to have more. There's more to this, but the 3 keys will get you pretty far. So the first thing I want to talk about is it's a journey. And there are some pictures here on this slide. the photo of me years ago. And when I came into coaching, I came from a job as an estate planner. And so I'm going to give you kind of an example of how this journey can work for you. We helped high net worth individuals plan for retirement, and I was really successful. I was also very burnt out. I was working like 60+ hours a week. And when I came into coaching, I decided to coach the professionals that I had worked with my previous job. So I had lawyers, accountants, financial planners, and I began coaching that group. And then in the first 9 months of coaching, I had racked up 250 hours. It was so exciting for me. And here's where Jen comes in. This is another coach. She's right next to me in the photo here. We were at an ICF conference, and most of the other coaches that I had taken a course with were getting their websites done and all of this, and I was coaching clients. So she said to me, if I get in a group of new coaches together, will you coach us and help us do what you've done? And so this is why I say my niche found me, and you can actually have this happen for you too. So I said yes to that group, and before the conference was over, my first coaching group of 6 coaches had formed. And you know what? They got results. I loved coaching them. And next in the journey comes William. So William was on a teleclass. I was taking all these teleclasses to learn. And he gave a teleclass, and at the end he said, you know, if you'd like a free session, I would love to, you know, give you that. And it was funny because I took him up on that session, and I had no intention of hiring him. I really just wanted to learn. And I had given a lot of free sessions, too, where people hadn't hired me. And I told him of my love for coaches. And he said to me they had never heard anyone so excited about this. And he encouraged me, as you heard earlier, to pursue the niche. Well, when he read my heart, so you can guess that I hired him on the spot. So I worked with William that year, and he really encouraged me to get out there and start volunteering. I remember he told me to put this tagline on my emails, the coach for new coaches. It kind of scared me because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm a new coach myself. I did it though, and I was one step ahead of other new coaches, and it actually worked well. So that's a little tip there about having your niche. You just need to be like one step ahead. And I started coaching those coaches around me. My niche found me. It took 9 months, which I think is an interesting number, kind of that gestation period. And that has been my journey. And you'll see on the right my first info product. That I pulled this out of the archives, the Art of Group Coaching. What I did with that coaching group is I reverse engineered it, and I made a product called the Art of Group Coaching for coaches. So nothing is wasted. Everything is used. So that's kind of a journey, and I know that we learn by example. So there's an example of how finding your niche can be a journey. So let's go through the 3 steps. The first step, what's your passion? And the reason I like to start with you and your passion is we want to begin within. We're coaches, so it's really important for us to walk our talk. And if you look at that word passion, if you want to write that down, if you have a pen and paper, just print it on a piece of paper. And if you take the first 4 letters and you circle them, then you take the next letter and circle it, and the last 2. The word, it turns into 3 words, and it's pass, I, on. Isn't that interesting? So in terms of our passion, it's how we pass ourselves on into the world. And it's also interesting, I listened to William's presentation from yesterday, and passion is part of branding too. So all of this really, you know, goes together quite nicely. So let's look at your passion, which is step 1. These are 4 things that could go into your passion. There's obviously more and different ones, but these are some things for you to think about. Essence energy is the first one. So in my book, I talk about the concept of essence energy. And I believe it's one of the most important aspects to keeping your passion alive. You know, every person has this energy within that we exude when we're feeling empowered and strong. And it's the feeling you get when you've gotten up on the right side of the bed, or you think maybe you should go out and buy a lottery ticket. I don't know who won last night, but all those, that feeling that you have. Here's a couple examples. I know a coach whose essence energy is serene heart, and when I'm with her, I feel really loved. She exudes that loving kindness. My essence energy I happen to call it tender exuberance, and I hope you can feel that from me right now, kind of the tenderness and also the enthusiasm and exuberance. So think about this concept of essence energy, and how would you label yours? There is a handout that I think Nicole had a URL where there's a handout, and so there's a worksheet that you can write this down on if you have that downloaded. If not, you can just write as we're going along, because if you can follow and just write some notes for yourself on what these would be for you, at the end of our presentation, you're going to have so much to help you, even if you already have your niche, to really hone you in on your niche, maybe even make it stronger for you. So the essence energy is something that is the energy within you. It could be 3 words, it could be a phrase, something to describe that energy when you are really in your essence. So that's one part of your passion. The next part of your passion is gifts. So every one of us has gifts. What gifts do you bring to the table? You know, there are gifts like intuition and listening, which if you're a coach and on the line, probably have those gifts in spades. What are some other gifts, though? Maybe you have a gift of healing or wisdom, or maybe you have a gift with being very organized, or you're really good with electronics. You know, there are many gifts that you could bring to the table. This is part of your passion. So take a moment and write down, if you can think of 1 or 2 gifts that you have, just put those down on your worksheet. Another part of your passion includes your values. You know, as coaches, we help our clients find their values, and they can use those to make decisions that are really aligned with who they truly are. And it's interesting, you can see on the slide, I put a picture of my ebook, which is called Getting Started with Clarifying Values. That was one of my very first ebooks. It's probably not particularly branded, because these things that I'm showing you now, these were like my early stages, but I'm very proud of it. And I think all of us coaches have processes that we use to bring our clients' values forward. And I'd love to do a little, it's not exactly a poll, but I'd love to know some of your top values as a coach. So if you would type some of your top value, or maybe your top 2 values in the chat box, and then William, you can read them out. I'm sure we'll all be very inspired.
Great. So you can just go ahead and there we go. Learning, integrity, authenticity, fulfillment, mutual respect, trust, compassion, honesty, inclusivity. Wow, people are really in touch with their passions. People, serving others, freedom, compassion, authenticity again, living in alignment, honesty, love, integrity, optimistic, honesty, continuing growth, authenticity, learning, honesty, openness, making a difference, freedom, sincerity, patience. Oh my gosh, I'm so... you know what? I'm going to have to stop there, Karen, or that would be the end of the 1-hour session we have. So, but really incredible. People are really on top of their personal values.
Oh, yes, thank you, and thank you, William. Yeah, it's so cool, and I would love, I can't wait to get a copy of all those values, because I think my energy just rose just hearing those values. So you're very in touch with your values, what you bring to your coaching practice. And the last one I want to talk about is talents, the last part of your passion. So it's your talents. What special talents do you have? Are you an artist, a writer, a speaker, a musician? All of these talents are part of your passion. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can bring these into your niche as we go forward. So write down on your sheet any talents you have, anything that you want to remember. So this is step one in receiving your niche. It's knowing what you're passionate about, and we're beginning within. And I can tell you all know a lot about what you're passionate about. So let's go on to step two. Step two is, what are your experiences? So that's the next thing in receiving your niche. We're going to look at what your experiences are. So here's a slide with some experiences. First of all, you do have an education. Maybe you have a high school diploma. Actually, I know people who don't even have that. But whatever education you have, that's part of your experience. And also your credentials. And I put a picture of my PCC credential there for you to see. For many people, the first two on this list are the ones we think of when we think of things that will create credibility with our niche. And they do count for something, and having an education can help. For instance, if you have an MD and you want to coach doctors, that could really help you have credibility with your niche, and also a common language. And credentials can help too. Having a coaching certification does look good on your resume and your website. Yet, I want to call your attention to a couple other experiences that actually work even better, I believe, than your education or your credentials. And so this next one, called hobbies, I know a financial planner who his ideal clients in his niche are high net worth individuals who like hunting and fishing. I'm not kidding. And he uses that hobby, and he will not take on clients who are not in this category. And he takes his clients on these fishing trips. It's kind of an unwritten part of his niche. So think about that for yourself. Do you have any special hobbies? I know a coach who loves to sail, and part of his coaching program is his clients get a day of sailing with him. You know, it's so much fun for both the coach and the client, and it allows the client to get out of the office and see things from a different perspective. So that is really cool. Another coach I know loves to paint. So she has painting retreats with her ideal clients. And the idea of using your hobby as an experience to receive your niche, it's really important because people will relate. I know people who have dogs, like they are so committed and they bond over these things. So there are ways you can use your hobbies. If you want to, you can maybe write down something about your education, write down any credential you have, and then write down a hobby on your sheet there that you might use in receiving your niche. Now, the last one here, the transformation, you know, that truly is last but not least. This is the most important experience, I think, that you bring to your niche, and the most important thing people are looking for when they hire you as a coach. So the person, let's just think about this. The person who has maybe lost the baby weight after pregnancy can certainly coach those who want to do the same. And to that mom who wants to lose the weight, it probably doesn't matter if the coach has a degree in nutrition or if they have a college education or if they have a credential. What matters is she's done it. She has experience in that transformation. You know, one of the reasons that my niche found me was that I had clients quickly, and they wanted to do the same. And at the time, I didn't have the highest credential in coaching. I didn't have an MBA, or my master's is actually in higher ed, but I did have an experience of doing this. So this is the truth about your niche. Most clients will hire you because of your transformational experience. So those of you who already have a niche and are talking to people, I would, if I were you, I would really even get a true story of my transformation and share that everywhere. And that will even strengthen your niche for you. So if you would like, write down either a phrase or a word that reminds you of a story, of your story of transformation. Maybe you have more than one, but write that down so that you can remember that. Okay, so let's go to step 3 now, which is what are the challenges of your ideal clients? And if you'll notice, step 3 comes after your passion and your experiences. And in my previous life, as an estate planner, I started with my experiences and the challenges of my clients, and I really never added in my passions. And I was successful, but I was exhausted. So this is why I say step 1 is really look at your own passions and begin there and move outward. So let's look at your ideal client's challenges. And there are 4 proven niches where others have made money and created a profitable business around. So the research has been done. These 4 niches are business, dating and relationships, health and fitness, and money. And so anything in these categories has a higher probability of succeeding. And by the way, just for a little bit of fun there, in the dating and relationship category photo on the screen, that's actually me and my sweetie. It was taken at Christmas time, and I thought I'd throw it in there. You can see that he has one of the best smiles in the world. So here's the thing about these challenges. None of these niches here are about empowerment or self-improvement or living life on your own terms. And while those are all just great things we do as coaches, the very concrete real-life challenges are the ones that make it easier for people to hire you. So if we think of the niche as a need, if you have a need, it will increase your chance of business success. And when our future clients have a need, they're looking for us. So, I mean, I know this is true. I know this has been true about myself at different times in my life. I've had needs in any one of these niches and challenges with those. I find that many coaches resist getting into the challenges. You know, we're such positive people. We want to help others work on bettering their lives. I'm not saying it's impossible to fill a coaching practice based on empowerment or living life out loud. You know, if you have a large database, if you know a lot of people already, or if you're a well-known self-empowerment guru, you know, that may make it easier. So all I'm talking about is what is going to make it easier for you. And there's one topic that can make, here's a caveat. There's one topic that can make a great niche and it's not centered on a challenge. So that goes back to working on something that people get great pleasure doing, like a hobby or travel. You know, we talked about hobbies before. So here's a tip for those who don't want to build a niche on a challenge or who want to add this into a niche they already have. You can do something that gives people great pleasure and build your niche around some type of a hobby, or travel coaching is really big, those kind of things. The reason I put challenge, your ideal client's challenges here, is that this is the one that will create an inner sense of urgency in your future client and have them out looking for you. And here's the thing. One of my mentors used to say, all coaching is life coaching, or you could say all coaching is spiritual coaching. You know, all coaching, once a client gets in, is about the essence of what they need. So he used to say, pick a conversation you enjoy having and make that your niche. So if you enjoy a conversation in one of these categories, then I encourage you to make that your niche. Here's an example. I love the aspect of helping coaches through growing their businesses. That's a conversation I really enjoy. One of my colleagues loves helping coaches get certified. She's not at all interested in the conversation about growing your business. She likes that certification conversation. Another colleague I have likes to take coaches on adventure retreat trips, and that's his niche. So within these categories here, you can drill down into a niche or a micro niche or an aspect of what they are. So let's look at, you know, think about yourself. Do you like one of these categories specifically, and what part of that category do you like? For instance, if we take dating and relationships as a niche, you could do the dating part. So there's a coach out there that helps women in the dating arena find men. There's also gay dating. There's also, you know, helping men find the right women. There's also, once you get into a relationship, there's a niche about marriage, you know, and having a great relationship. So there's all kinds of different niches within this bigger one. So I'd like to take a little poll just to see who we have on the line. And I want to know, which of the 4 challenges do you feel most closely aligned with? So just, you know, check off which of those 4 challenges you feel most closely aligned with. And William, you can let us know what type of niches do we have, or what kind of challenges on the call. The poll is open, so let us know.
We have responses coming in.
Yes?
And in a moment, we will reveal the results.
Ooh.
I know, everyone's on the edge of their seat.
I'm just waiting. Well, do we have that music from Jeopardy?
I know, doom, doom.
There you go.
Here we are. Here, the results are 65% business, 17% dating relationships, 16% health and fitness, and 2% money.
Ah. And you know, isn't that interesting? And I think that's actually very telling. And I do find that especially small business coaching is one of the easiest niches, and the niche that people are really looking for help. We didn't differentiate small business or corporate, but people are looking for help because especially professionals like lawyers and accountants and small business owners, they need someone to bounce their ideas off of. So thank you for sharing all of that. That's pretty cool. All right. So the next slide is actually where your niche is. It's the intersection of your passion, your experiences, and your ideal client challenges. And I'm going to put my, I think you can see my cursor here. Right in here is that sweet spot. If we put all of those together, those circles, it will be a strong niche. Now let's talk about, if one of these circles is missing, the niche is not going to be as viable. So for instance, if you have a niche that includes your passion and your experiences, but does not address ideal client challenges, it will be difficult to attract your clients because they don't have a sense of urgency to work with you if there's no challenge. So if you have a niche that has your passion and your ideal clients' challenges, but without your experience, it could be difficult to attract your ideal clients because you're not going to have that sense of credibility where they know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you can help them solve their challenges. And I want to give an example of this for one of my clients. She had one paying client. She just got out of coaching school, and she had a paying client who was a doctor. And she really wanted to coach doctors because she was doing so well with this one. And so she started talking to other doctors, but she really couldn't get traction. She was not a doctor. She was a social worker. And in the meantime, her husband was a very successful real estate agent, and she had gone to all of these networking events with him. She had very close relationships with these real estate agents, and she had been coaching her husband. So since she had the experience and the credibility in real estate, she started coaching the agents, and they started hiring her, and she got traction. So the experiences are important. And with the doctors, her education and credentials were missing. So that's that one. And if you have a niche where you have experience with your ideal clients' challenges and no passion, you're going to burn out. And that would be my time in estate planning. I did so well financially, client-wise, but my passion wasn't completely there. So I want to share, a client wrote to me when she found out I was giving this presentation. And I want to share what she shared with me because it's really important for all of you to know this. Everything I've said up to this point is true, and here's another perspective. so she says to me, this is so cool, Karen. I was talking about this coaching session I had with you. Hold on a second. I think I need to take a sip of water. Little electrolytes never hurt. I talk about this coaching session I had with you and how I struggled with my niche. This is what she said. Until you just offered that I could just let go of the struggle. When I did, I stopped trying to figure it out and make it happen, and my niche found me. As a nurse, I saw more and more of how coaching could be a significant part of addressing the problems within the healthcare system. I just couldn't see in the beginning why I should just have a niche. Why would I do that? Why would I limit myself? As I began to get out of my head and look more deeply into my heart and listen, I soon became aware of how much I love being a nurse and how much nurses needed the care of coaching. Now I work with nurses who are overwhelmed and exhausted, and I support them in reconnecting to caring. It's a blessing to serve. So I thought that was just beautiful, and that really shows her passion, her experiences, and the challenges of her ideal clients. All right, so we're going to open it up for Q&A in just a few minutes, but there's one more thing I want to share with you. And as they say, the devil is in the details. So I want to give you a few very practical, detailed tips that will help you. If you're unsure about your niche, and I know there are 40% of you that are, get out there and coach. Coach like 20 clients or 25 clients, people that are right around you, and see what the common challenges are. See who you enjoy coaching and allow your niche to find you. And remember that while you can coach anyone, the niche is here to make it easier for you to present yourself to the world. If you want to know how to articulate your niche, this is for everyone, whether you have a niche or not, interview 5 of your ideal clients about their most significant challenges. Record their exact words. You know, if you have an iPhone, you can just press the button and record this. And that will give you some great fuel for writing blogs, websites, for talking about the niche. If you have multiple niches you want to try out, I heard some people that had a value of learning. And, you know, I like to learn a lot of different things, so maybe you have different ones. Do them consecutively, not concurrently. So immerse yourself in one niche for 90 days to see how you feel about it, see what kind of traction is occurring before you move on to another niche. If you do them all at the same time, it will really dilute your message, and it can confuse people out there. And do not spend time or money, very much of it, on a website until you've received your niche and made a commitment to that niche. So I see this all the time. What you could do is, you know, there are lots of free resources like LinkedIn. You can put all of your blogs on LinkedIn now for free. You could use that as your main profile. You could get a WordPress blog site, which is free, and just put up something very simple, 2 pages, you know, an about page about you and an about page about your philosophy of coaching. So don't invest a lot of time or money until you've received your niche and made that commitment. All right, so time for Q&A, and I've put a photo here on this of my great niece Melody for our pleasure as we're having our Q&A. And one of the reasons that I put her picture there is she's adorable, but also because her parents are both scientists, and they have had, this little girl has had niched products since she was born, so they research everything. She's gotten the top stroller, the top food, the top clothes, everything that was just perfect for her. So there's just another reinforcement of having a niche will really set you apart from others and encourage people to buy from you. So William, did you want to start out our Q&A and see if anyone has any questions?
Yes, absolutely, Karen. So first of all, I just want to send you some. Personally, I've heard you many times, and I find you just incredibly zen and confident and thoughtful and clear, and so I want to acknowledge you for that, and I want to tell you lots of, in the question box, lots of nice kudos came in, so I want to pass those on to you as well. We had a lot of questions around different kinds of niches and your experience with them, and so let me give you kind of the series of questions, and maybe you can answer them all. One is, are there any niches we should avoid? Another is, are there successful parenting coaches that you know of? Another is, are there niches that would be good to pursue that we may not be thinking about? So any of your experience with all the coaches you work with and their various niches of ones that work or don't work and all of that?
Oh, yeah. So I really do say about the avoid being too general, avoid having a niche of, like, you know, self-empowerment, because the general population doesn't really get that. So the very general niche, I think, would be a good one to avoid. I know a great parenting coach, and his name is Rob Stringer, and if you wanted to Google him, you could find him. And I think parenting is a great niche. I think parenting, you know, and you could really even micro niche in parenting. You could work with single fathers. You could work with parents of teenagers. You know, there's so many different ways that you could work with that niche. And I would say, if you're going to do any niche like parenting, pick your transformational story, and then, you know, interview some people and find out. And I do think that one of the best niches is small business coaching. And here's why. Because I think those small business people, like, let's just say a lawyer who's in an office with one paralegal. You know, I have a very good friend of mine who's a lawyer, and I did coach her near the beginning of my coaching. And she wanted to bounce ideas off of me. She wanted kind of that silent partner that she could really trust, that was very confidential. And a lot of these small business owners, they're going it alone. William, I want to tell a quick example. When I first started coaching, I was sitting next to this woman at a leads breakfast, and she had a small company, like I think 10 people, manufacturing company here. And she asked me if I could help her. We coached for about 4 months, and at the time I was only charging $300 a month. So she paid me $1,200. The next year, she contacted me and said, I'd like to come in for a tune-up session. And she told me, get ready for this, that she had made, that our coaching had added $90,000 to the bottom line of her business the year before. The ideas that she, isn't that something?
Yeah.
I was a brand new coach, you know, but she had all of these ideas that she wasn't implementing because she wasn't unsure of them. And as a coach, I listened for her passion for these ideas. I listened for how she was going to implement. We did it with accountability, and she got all these thoughts out of her head. So I say small business coaching is easy. It's an easy coaching, and it's easy to get a return on investment and to implement.
Great. And another related question came in. Is there somewhere a list of all the potential niches so that we could read them and see which ones, when we read them, they kind of are interesting or they resonate for us? Do you know of a resource like that?
I'm laughing. I actually have a resource like that in my, let me see where my slide is. Hold on a second. Okay. This resource, receiveyourniche.com, I have a free info product with this, and anyone, if you want to get it right now, you can get it right now. Sign up for it, and in there is a list of these mega niches and then 30 niches where people have made money from.
Excellent. Yeah, a lot of times I think reading that list, you can kind of feel that emotional pull to some of those potential niches. Another question came in about, you know, you're talking about need, right? And you can, obviously, people make purchasing decisions to solve a problem, right? It's either for pleasure or pain. And so you're talking about the pain element. And someone said, isn't the pain that they come to you with not really what the ultimate problem is that they're looking to solve? It's just a presenting problem?
Oh, brilliant. Yes, it is. And I think this is where coaches get messed up a little bit on the niche, because they say this is only the presenting problem. The real problem is X. And the thing is, even though we know the real problem is X, even though we know that the presenting problem is what's going to bring them in our marketing, in our niche, we need to talk about the presenting problem and meet them where they're at. So I think that is completely true, and we need to be talking in our marketing about the presenting problem, and in our coaching, we need to be addressing the underlying problem.
Yeah, well, I think that's a brilliant point, right? That's where people are coming in, and then coaches a skill to be able to solve a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any since you work with so many coaches, people are looking for some numbers. Do you have any statistics on annual revenue for coaches that are specifically niched versus others, or any kind of data? I know you just gave us that one really good example of $90,000 that came in from, but do you have any other data that could help folks kind of get a feel financially how there's an impact?
Oh, you know, I was looking. By the way, if anybody has any of this, please send it to me, because I was out there on the internet looking. I can give some examples from mine and my clients, so I think this might be helpful. Now here's another person that I coached that it was not a coach. He was a IT salesperson, and I met him when I was speaking at Canyon Ranch. He changed companies, so from a starting of zero in January, I think this was 2 years ago, to the end of the year, he ended up making $1 million. Now
wow.
Now these are, I'm telling you, these are, you know, outstanding examples, of course. My clients, I had a client that started coaching a couple years ago, and halfway through last year, so I think we had been coaching less than a year, she hit her first 5-figure month, so she made over $10,000 that month. And now that she's done it, she's doing it more consistently. So it's hard to say. I'm trying to think about that. I mean, I've had coaching clients that have what I say is look to make a return on investment. And honestly, there are lots of return on investment quotes about in business where people have been making, like, you know, 5 times what they've paid for their coaching. So I don't know if that helps, because I was looking for some of these statistics and I couldn't find them. William, do you know any of these?
I don't. You know what I think the payment comes in, and I would love your thoughts on this, and there was actually a question related to it as well. I think the true payment that comes in from establishing a niche is time. Because when you're crystal clear about the people that you're targeting, you're not spending days trying to reach anybody in the world. You're really, really, really focused on being visible to those people, and that saves you huge amounts of time and investment in becoming visible, right? And the smaller you make that niche, the less time you invest. And I'll give you an example of someone, and maybe you can talk to her, but I bring up a woman named Ora all the time. She has a business called Ora Coaching. And her niche is very senior executives on the island of Manhattan in New York City, right? Unbelievably small and targeted, but she's known everywhere. I mean, there are 9 million people in New York, so it's not a tiny, tiny market. But think about it. The only places she needs to be visible are right there. And so your thoughts about, you know, kind of the benefits of niching from a time/revenue perspective, and then maybe a little bit about the ORA story.
Yeah, perfect. So I did kind of allude to that. So the idea of don't do your website or anything before you get niche, because honestly, I've seen people lose a lot of money, you know, thousands of dollars getting something done that really wasn't that tightly niche. As you say, William, you know where to be and when. So like for me, when I decided to work with coaches, I got on every coaching mailing list. There were Yahoo groups those days. I got on every Yahoo group, and then I started getting in that conversation. And the decisions about where I needed to be and where I needed to invest my time and money were super easy. If it was in my niche, I did it. If it wasn't, I didn't. So it's kind of like using values in coaching. If people do things that are aligned with their values, that makes the decision-making pretty simple. The same thing with the niche. Once you have the niche, where to invest your time and money, it becomes pretty simple. And I think that's really true about where you will save in terms of money.
Yeah, and I actually tell people it's the pleasure of saying no. Because when you're not really clear about your target audience, and would love your thoughts about this, right? Things come to you and you're like, oh my God, that looks like a good idea, and look, they're giving me this offer, and I could do this advertisement here, and maybe I should write that blog post there, and everything seems like a potential idea. But when you have that, when you think about who is my target audience and is it going to be visible to them, you can say no to most things, and that's when no becomes a really positive word, I think.
Yes, and also for me, like I didn't even know what to write blogs on. I was like, are you kidding me? And I'm not a big writer. I do not enjoy the process of writing. But once I had my niche, then I understood, like my clients would send me an email and ask me a question. And I would take that question and turn it into a blog post. And it would help every other coach in the world. So I think everything, I'm a big person with, I like success with ease and joy is my motto and my mantra. And so for me, if it's easy, and if it's not easy like in terms of that I don't have any challenges, but if it creates a lot of ease and it's very natural, I think that saves a lot. And not only financially, but just angst, like putting out stuff and having nobody read it or having nobody sign up for programs and things. There's a lot that goes into this. So when you have that niche, you're saving a lot of time and money, but also emotional baggage. And I see coaches that have some emotional baggage because they've put all this stuff out there. They've put beautiful things out, and nobody's reading them. And that's a big deal.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And that's I think one of the other great things about finding your niche that you talked about earlier is when you have joy, right? These are the people you want to serve or the problems you want to solve. Then every client is going to be a joy for you rather than a client coming in and being work for you. And I think that's how you can really align who you are with what you do and how you do it. So just for clarification, because I know people are getting a little bit hung up on terms, and we did have Michael yesterday who was talking about niche differently and target audience, and we've been talking about target audience and niche. So do you want to just clarify just so that people don't have any confusion about what you've been talking about?
Yes, I've been talking about receiving your ideal client and a challenge you help them solve or a topic you work with them on. That's what I call a niche. Those two components. You know who the person is and you know what you're helping them with. Kind of the who and the what. I put those together as a niche, and I think that you can receive that. I think your niche can find you when you have those three keys in place.
Well, that's incredibly well said. Who was the coach doing the adventure retreat tricks?
That's Scott Mascarelli. ClearInsightsCoaching.com. He's amazing.
Great. And then the next series of questions, if I'm kind of grouping them to try to cover as many as we can, has to do with, so once you have your niche, what are the ways to get the people in your niche to know you? So someone talked about, should I belong to association? Someone else said, how do I get these people to my website? Somebody else said, what tools should I use to reach my niche? So what are your thoughts on, obviously, next week we're going to cover a lot of the communications and visibility, but this will be great foreshadowing to get your thoughts around that, Karen.
Right. So I was watching your branding presentation yesterday. I think what you can do is you can take like one piece of really relevant insights that you have for your niche and make that kind of your signature presentation. So I don't really do this with my niche. Like I have a bunch of different things, but let's just say I wanted to become the expert in niching. So I could take this Receive Your Niche, I could take this talk that I've done here, I could take the free products that I've done, and I could just send it out on social media, I could send it out to my mailing list, I could put it out everywhere. I personally like, you know, the word of mouth. It really gets easy, and it's incredibly effective. So I would send it out to everyone you know, of something free. A free product, a free gift, something, even a white paper if you're in corporate. A lot of people are in business. Write a white paper about a topic that is really relevant, and then get that into the hands of as many people as you can. And that is one of the easiest ways I know to get out there and to show your expertise and to show your philosophy to people. Like, look, I'm a little different. I say you receive your niche instead of finding your niche, let your niche find you. That's a little bit of a different focus and perspective. So what perspective do you have when you're with that niche that you can send out as some kind of a free giveaway? I think that's where it starts.
That's a brilliant punctuation to an incredible presentation, Karen, which is absolutely perfect, and it's simple and elegant, just like your presentation. I want to, for those of you who are thinking about Karen's brand, and it even comes through in her presentations, which are just a series of photos with maybe one or two words associated with them. It's just so consistent with who you are, and you've delivered on the 3 C's of branding incredibly well. So thank you, Karen, so much for being with us today.
Thank
we
you.
couldn't be more thrilled.